Welcome back to the Brew Crew podcast, everyone. This is day 10.
10.
Day 10 of the Advent Super Showdown Spectacular Beer Advent Calendar Event of the Century 2021.
Wow.
Until next year's Event of the Century.
Which will then be the...
Event of the century. The event of the century changes.
It does.
As the century progresses.
It'll make this one the second best event of the century.
Until 2023.
Wow.
This is, I've been waiting for a brewery like this. Branch and Bone never had a miss in my book. They've hit every time they've made a beer. And I'm excited about this. Is that a bias going in? Hell yeah, it's a bias going in. It's Branch and Bone. They don't suck.
No, they don't.
That's for sure. This is Branch and Bone, hung from the moon. And I actually thought about this earlier when I found out we were doing Branch and Bone today. I think that in coordination with the Brew Crew podcast, Branch and Bone and Brew Crew podcast should have a annual Branch and Bone Thugs in Harmony night.
Nice.
And they'll make a beer called Crossroads, and it'll just play on repeat all night, and we'll just drink beer to it.
Love it.
It'll be one of those things where it's like, I love this song, and then after about 10 plays, you're like, this song again. Yeah. And then after about 20 plays and you're drunk, you're like, hell yeah, this song again.
Or we could play every song that's named Crossroads or has the name Crossroads in it. Like from Clapton, Robert Johnson, all the greats.
Jeez, Robert Johnson, that's a throwback.
It is.
I don't know that Robert Johnson is good to drink to, unless you're drinking
blues.
Like you got to drink a cocktail,
blues.
not beer. Blues make you blue, man.
But Branch and Bone
makes you happy.
Makes you happy.
Branch and Bone Thugs in Harmony makes you feel real happy.
You know,
I'm opening it up.
I'm excited. I've had a lot of Branch and Bone, thanks to you. But I've never had...
You paid for it.
I did pay for it. I paid for a lot of it. But I've never had this one before. So I'm very excited about this.
I believe this is a bitters, English bitters.
It's only 4.8 on the Richter scale. I might just throw in there.
Yeah, 4.8. So it's got the same alcohol content as about Miller Lite. Yeah, it's the English bitters.
Oh, I like English bitters.
Branch and Bone, Artisan Ales, hung from the moon. Hung from the moon.
And look at that can art. Look at that. Oops.
You're a lot more of a romantic than I am, so I'll let you explain what hung from the moon means.
Hung from the moon. Well, it's a saying that probably most everyone knows.
Yeah, I would say.
You know, when you think that someone has reached a pinnacle and you put them on a pedestal of sorts and you think very highly of them, you think they hung from the moon.
Yeah. So,
or when you're feeling really great about something, like you had a great day or you had a great week, or you just sold, $6.5 million worth of more work at your client.
Is that what you did today?
In combination with
sell that much work.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe, you don't know.
We'll see.
$6.5 million seems like something you should not be unsure about.
No, I would love to be sure about that. But in the meantime, it left. Let's just say it left the week on a high note.
They probably look at you like you were hung from the moon.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That
but I feel
like the saying kind of has a grim, suicidal kind of thing to it. Like you are
sort of a fatalistic thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
It could be. I don't want to think of it like that actually, but I'm feeling like I'm hung from the moon right now. So kind of a personal thing. Anyway,
that's good. Congrats.
So Branch and Bone did. So this one was bottled for us, so someone picked it.
Someone picked it. And
do we know who?
I would expect it to have been picked because Branch and Bone.
Mm-hmm.
Not to keep harping on that, and yeah, of course, there's a bias here. There's just this brewery delivers all the time that I don't think I've ever had a bad beer from them. Even the West Coasts, of which we've established long ago, Matt likes. I could pass on them, but they even make those good.
Man, I got to tell you, I'm going to relate this story because this is a little bit of a romantic story for me. It really touches my heart. the first English beer that I ever had, I studied in England for a year. And while I was over there, of course, they have great beers in England, quite different than our beers. But that's real beer from the old world. And the very first one that I had was an English Bitters on tap at a pub. And
remember what it was called?
It was phenomenal. I am trying to remember, and I don't think I can remember. But I remember my dad telling me from years before that when he had gone to England and he had drank the beer, that his favorite was English Bitters. So I had kind of a bias towards it at that point, and I could see exactly why I liked it. You know, it's a lighter beer, so it's easier to drink. So it'd be like, you know, having come from college in the States for a couple of years at that point, and, you know, drinking college beer.
Milwaukee's best.
Yeah.
Ice House. What else?
Miller Lite.
Miller
Bud
Lite. They can't afford that in college. That's too fancy.
Well, we did have some things like
what's the other one?
Schlitz.
Schlitz. We had Schlitz on the podcast.
We had what was the Blatz?
Blatz.
We used to have before in my freshman year when we lived in the dorms, we used to have something called a shower sit, and we'd bring ice cold Blatz. We'd put it out in the snow, and we'd get it super cold, and then we'd take it up, and a bunch of guys would bring their chairs into the shower. We'd sit in the shower and drink ice cold Blatz in the middle of winter.
You're like a
Blatz
communal
was
shower,
not,
like one of the like a military style thing.
But Blatz was not good beer.
Well,
then I went to England. It was very cheap beer, but it was good for us in college.
That's all you need.
But when I went abroad to study and I started drinking English beer, I realized it opened up a whole new avenue of possibilities in terms of drinking beer and to flavors that I didn't even realize existed. And I realized I didn't have to keep drinking that crappy American beer that we're all accustomed to drinking and calling it good because we didn't know any better. And the English Bitters was the first beer that kind of turned me on to that. The IPA was not soon to follow, but the bitter has a special place in my heart, so I love bitters.
Was not soon to follow in its history, or in your history?
In my chronology of the beers that I would drink. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, when you say crappy American beer, of course, he's not talking about Busch Light. Okay? He's not talking about Busch Light. Who sponsors this episode? Busch Light. This episode is brought to you by Busch Light Santa Claus. Busch Light Santa Claus. Just get drunk and deliver Christmas presents. Busch
we
Light
love
Santa
Busch
Claus.
Light.
It's actually you, but you're hammered.
Yeah.
Coming this winter.
I will say this about Busch Light. When I was in college, Busch Light was one of those beers, and it sucked. It was bad. They've reinvented themselves, and Busch Light is not the same beer that it used to be. I scoffed at it. I laughed at it.
He scoffed at it. He made me feel small.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Because I said, you know what? We have craft beer, but sometimes you just want a light beer.
Yes,
Everyone's got a standard.
Yep.
Everyone does. And if you don't, then you're overly pretentious about beer. You just got to have one in the house at all times.
That's right.
And ours is Busch Light in my house.
And I appreciate that. And I appreciated it when he was explaining the same thing to me, and I was anxiously awaiting what he would pull out of his little beer fridge. And lo and behold, it was Busch Light, and that's when I began the scoffing and the laughing.
He did, and you know what? He had it. To his credit, he drank it.
I did,
and he said, "You know what? This ain't half bad.
I liked it.
It's not half good either." That's what he said.
I like it. Particularly, they have the other flavors, right? You turned me on to the Busch Light Apple. Blapple. That's damn good beer.
That's a good ass
I've never
beer.
had that combination in any other beer, but that beer was really good.
That is Busch's craft beer.
So I'll say this. Hats off and a tip to Busch Light.
Yeah. I don't know how they can make such trash with Bud Light and then turn around and make Busch Light.
Right, it doesn't make any
good.
sense. It doesn't make any freaking sense at all.
But hey, that's life.
Yeah, it is.
All right. I pounded this beer. I'm almost done with it already.
I'm talking way too much.
No, I think in a situation like this, you have knowledge, you have history. Sometimes you got to take a page out of Joe Rogan's book and just listen.
Wow.
You know? He knows how to do an interview.
I like Joe Rogan. He does do that.
It's them, then us. That's how this podcast rankings go. Rogan, than us.
Pretty much.
And in between,
Rogan, than us.
right.
Than us. We love you, Joe. If you're watching,
Yeah, he
wouldn't that
watches.
be
He's
awesome?
a Chuggalo.
Is he a Chuggalo?
Chuggalo, yeah.
I hope
if
Joe.
you watch, he wears shirts that say Chuggalo.
I hope you're drinking a hung from the moon right now with us.
I hope so. Come to Branch and Bone. I'll meet you.
Cheers. Yeah, me too.
This does have. It's a. Like Scott said, it's a light beer with with a bitterness to it, and I'm not sure where the bitterness comes from, because at least the hops I'm used to.
Yeah, these are English hops.
These are English hops. Oh, English hops.
Yeah, they're much lighter.
English hops,
They have a very different character.
Mates are Australian.
But yeah, the bitterness in the beer
Bloody.
always comes from the hops.
Bloody English hops.
Bloody hell. It is good beer.
Yeah, this is good beer.
I like
it's
this
the light.
beer.
So whereas yesterday we were saying there was no flavor, this beer has its flavor. And if you drink a lot of English bitters, which I don't, maybe this wouldn't be, a standout beer, because maybe it just blends in with the rest. But I don't drink a lot of English bitters. In fact, I am struggling to remember a time I've ever had one.
Really?
So if this is my first, then this is a great first. If to do this in the United States, I think you're showing your true colors as Branch and Bone. They are not afraid to step outside the box. They're not afraid to deliver a beer that might not look like a winner on the menu. You go in there and you have a choice of 10 beers. You might not choose the English bitters, but this beer is good.
It's really good.
It is. It has the perfect. The bitterness is It is a dryness with a very wet beer, like a very thirst quenching beer.
Yeah.
So it's
put.
actually just balanced. It just balances itself out on your tongue.
Very well.
It does. It's
Very
perfect.
well.
It's a pretty excellent beer. It tastes like what beer tastes like. It tastes like, so when you're growing up in the United States, and I can't relate because I've never been to England, your introduction to beer is the cheap college beers.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is probably what your first beer should taste like.
Wow.
I think, because it tastes like beer.
Yeah, if you tasted this as your first beer, you'd never go back to any other beer.
Yep. I would 100% drink this again. I don't know that I'd drive far for it, which is now my way of rationalizing whether or not something gets a 5. But I think I'm in the 4s. I need to figure out where I'm at. I'm probably at a 4.0.
I'm going to say 4.5.
All right.
This is probably my highest to date. I think that is
You
my
think?
highest.
All right. You haven't given 4.75 yet?
No, I haven't given one yet. That's a damn good beer. That's a
Yeah.
really good beer. I would definitely drink that again. I would drink that all summer long. I'd go to the kids' baseball games and drink that beer. Not necessarily at the baseball game.
Yeah, I don't know that you should be drinking at youth baseball games, but that's all right.
No, the other parents probably wouldn't.
They
like
frown on drinking at
Probably
youth baseball
do.
games. Yeah.
I don't really give a crap. But I probably would try to refrain from that because I wouldn't want to embarrass you or the kids.
Oh,
certainly.
thanks. I appreciate that.
That's a great beer. That's just a great beer. Look at that. JT dusted his already in this podcast. Gone. That tells you a lot right there. You didn't waste it. You didn't dump it.
I don't. Yeah, I try not to dump the beers.
You didn't do the obligatory sip just because, I've got to do a tasting tonight on a podcast. He liked that beer.
It was good.
It's a great beer. I'm halfway done because I'm slow and I'm talking way too much, but I'm going to enjoy the rest of this.
That's what podcasts are, talking. That's it. We got 4.5 and a 4.0.
Two good scores.
Branch and Bone, an excellent brewery in Dayton, Ohio. If you're watching this from out of state and you were to come here, obviously buy local. We promote a few things. Hall's Corner Store over in Beaver Creek.
Outstanding.
We like Branch and Bone, and I personally enjoy Nowhere in Particular.
So do I.
So
pretty much bought that place twice, I think.
Yeah, if you come here, visit those places. Barrel House, obviously, visit Barrel House. But Branch and Bone is somewhere where if you're coming from out of town, please go to Branch and Bone. Do yourself a favor. Don't do me a favor. I don't get anything out of it. They're not sponsoring this episode, but
I agree.
I think Dayton is a wonderful beer town.
It is.
And Branch and Bone is one of the reasons why.
Is Arshay from
Arshay is Toledo.
Toledo? Okay, sorry.
We can claim them though.
I was going to.
We can claim them because what else is in Toledo other than nothing?
The Mudheads.
The Mudheads?
Yeah.
The Toledo Mudheads? Is that minor league baseball?
Yeah, because that's the only one I know.
Isn't LeBron James from Toledo?
I'm
I'm not sure. I think. Akron. He's from Akron.
Akron. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah. Thank
funny.
goodness you can't have Arshay and LeBron James from the same place. That would be it would mess it up.
That'd be interesting.
So that's it. That's episode day 10.
Day 10.
Day 10. Wow, man, 10 days.
Wow.
We're almost halfway through already.
We are 2 more days, and we'll be halfway. On Sunday, we'll be halfway through.
That's sad.
Advent.
That's sad. It's almost over. I feel like we just have to have a 365-day Advent.
You know what? This has been a great. Nice. This has been a great Advent calendar. This is my favorite Advent calendar ever.
This is way better than little pieces of old chocolate.
Yeah, or opening up those little windows to see those little cartoon faces in there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great.
Oh, look, a cartoon.
Yeah, look. It's a picture of Rudolph.
This is definitely something that if you're watching these videos and you're not jealous that you're not doing this and you're already planning on doing next year's, then you don't have any spirit. You don't have Christmas spirit. You don't have team spirit. You don't have teen spirit.
No.
Which is something that Nirvana was big on.
Yeah.
At least the smell of it.
You can't say that stuff anymore, man.
What? Smells like teen spirit?
Yeah.
You can't say that?
It's like un-PC, I think.
Why? Teens go through puberty and such.
They do.
You know?
They do.
That's prime puberty time. They stink. They smell up all your furniture.
Yeah.
They put their sweaty hoodies on the couch and then it smells like BO all over the place. Not
Smelly shoes.
My kids are going through it. They don't. My kids are very clean. But I probably stunk like horrible when I was a teenager. Anyway, I think that's enough of that. We're going to have plenty more of this, though, on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, Tuesday.
We're going to have what we call the long form. We're going to have Stev. We're going to have Scott. We're going to have me and Matt. Matt and I have to use proper English. We're drinking English beer. Matt and I.
Wow.
But we got 4.5, 4.0 on Branch and Bones. Hung from the moon. This beer is hung from the moon.
It is
a good beer. That's it. See you next time.
Cheers. Have a good weekend.